Hello and welcome to this, what is my first ever video on this YouTube channel. As you can tell from the title and thumbnail, I'm going to be doing my 2025-26 EFL Championship Predictions. I'm just going to preface this video by saying I haven't looked at anything else to do with this. I haven't looked at any odds, I haven't looked at anyone else's predictions, I haven't looked at anything. I've only looked at who their squad is, the signings, the sales and the managers, and obviously their histories. That might become quite clear later on if I say something like who wouldn't have them in the relegation zone and then all the odds have got them in like 5th place or something. I've adopted the Spencer FC point system, which is the one place out system where it's like if you predict a team to finish 15th and they finish 12th, that's 3 points. Kind of a bit like golfing, you want to get as few points as possible. So without any further ado, let's get into it. In 24th place, I've gone with Sheffield Wednesday. Now, after 2 seasons back-to-back in the Championship, I think it's going to be slightly third times the uncharms for the Owls. Danny Rowles left 2 weeks before the end of the season, or just under 2 weeks, and that is a massive factor in the reasoning behind this prediction. On top of that, his replacement, Henrik Pedersen, the former assistant, while he will know the squad, there's not much of the squad left to know. It's not just Danny Rowell who's left, because crucial players like Callum Patterson, Michael Smith, Deji Gassama, playoff hero Josh Windass, Paul Valentine, Anthony Musamba, they've all left on free transfers, apart from Gassama, who left for 2.1 million to Rangers. But they've not signed a single player. They've not signed anyone at all. They're decimating their whole squad. They've changed their manager. They've not signed a single player. They've only got 16 players at the minute. And with only what is a day before the start of the season, 3 days before their first game of the season, it's not exactly looking hopeful. In 23rd or second bottom, I've gone with Portsmouth. Now, unfortunately for Pompey, I think it'll be a bit of second season syndrome for them. John Mousinho is a decent manager, and he's shown that in his time, and he'll probably continue to have the backing of the squad. However, despite not letting major players leave, and the addition of John Swift, who has proven in the Championship but has been slightly off the boil in more recent years, and youngster Adrian Segecic, they look like promising additions, but overall I think they're slightly too weak though. The teams around them have improved quite considerably, and there's stronger teams coming from League One this season. Finishing off the relegation spots, I've gone with Oxford United. While Gary Rowett is an experienced manager in the Championship, they've lost 2 starters in Idris El Mizuno and Ruben Rodriguez. They've made some good signings, however. Luke Harris and Will Lancashire on loan look like they could be good options. Nick Prelich, Brody Spencer and Brian de Keersmaker, or Smacker, however you want to pronounce it, they also look good, but they're relatively inexperienced, if at all, in English football. And with a strong Championship season ahead, I think they'll also just be too weak quality-wise for me. Just staying up by the skin of their teeth in 21st, I've gone with the first of the promoted sides, Charlton Athletic. Keeping Nathan Jones, who's kept the majority of his squad, is obviously important. Thierry Small is the only real loss, but they've replaced him quite well. On top of this, signings like Joe Rankin Costello from Blackburn and Harvey Nibbs, they look good. And Nathan Jones has gone straight to his old club in Luton and he's nicked a few players from them. Thomas Kaczynski, Reece Burke and Amari Bell look like they could be good. They were decent for Luton in the Prem. Not so much in the Championship. I say decent in the Prem. I know they got relegated, but you weren't expecting them to stay up by much. As well as that, Charlie Kelman, who was the top scorer in League One last season, first debut in the Championship. It looks like it could be good, but we'll have to wait and see. I do have doubts slightly about those Luton players and the other new additions about how quickly they can gel together, especially as the past 2 seasons for Luton's relegation and relegation. It's just how quickly they can get into the flow and keep the side together. In 20th, I've gone with Preston North End. Preston have made it their 11th season in a row now in the Championship, and they've only finished below 14th once. That was last season, however, and keeping Paul Heckingbottom, who finished that low, is a slightly interesting decision. I understand they want stability, but is he that good of a manager? The clubs who finished around them have improved massively. Only Hull finished below them, and they've had a total revamp and that's why I do think they'll struggle slightly. They have made some good signings though. Michael Smith from Sheffield Wednesday, Robbie Brady is an absolute steal. I know that he's not as good as he used to be when he was a regular star in the Prem, but he's still a decent option. They've made some other good signings like Luton goalkeeper Jack Walton, well, former Luton goalkeeper Jack Walton, Paul Valentine, and previously mentioned Thierry Small. Daniel Iverson could also be a good option as well. They've signed a few backup goalkeepers, it's just depending on who's going to start. They're all kind of similar quality. Obviously they've needed to replace their goalkeeper as Freddie Woodman has left for Liverpool. Not only has he left, but striker Emil Rees-Jakobsen has also left. Ryan Ledson has also left, who played a considerable amount for them last season. In 19th place, and I've gone with Stoke City. Now, since they got relegated, they've kind of been a bit of an Everton in their just consistent low mid-table finishes. You think they might go down, but in reality, they never will. They've looked strong in pre-season, unbeaten against 2 Prem sides, a win and a draw against Burnley and Wolves. As well as Mark Robinson, he's a sturdy manager in the Championship. He'll keep them afloat. They've lost a few players, obviously Walter Berger being the main one, as well as other losses like Jordan Thompson and Lyndon Gooch. However, they have improved quite a lot, to be honest. The double loan signing of Jamie Donnelly and Ashley Phillips, back for a second season, looked good. Aaron Cresswell from West Ham, which I think for a Championship side, he'll be a good player. In 18th place, and I've gone with Bristol City. Now, this is a massive drop-off compared to last season. They've been slightly decimated. I wouldn't say completely, not as much as Sheffield Wednesday have been, but they've still lost a few, big players for them. Naki Wells and Marcus McGain have both left. Obviously, the main reason is Ryan Manning. He's left. Finished 6th place with them last season, and now he's out the door. The replacement, Gerhard Struber, he has been in the Championship before. He was the manager of Barnsley a few seasons ago, and he did okay with them, but it was more of a struggle than it was a success. In pre-season, I know you're not supposed to read too much into it, especially as most of the sides they're playing have been weaker sides than them, but they've kept 3 clean sheets in their last 3 games. They lost 6-2 to Bournemouth in the first game of their pre-season, but that is Bournemouth, and they are a top quality Prem side. The 3 clean sheets have come against Plymouth, Newport and Cheltenham, so while they are good, they're not exactly mind-blowing. I think they'll struggle slightly with the new manager, and I think they were definitely overperforming last season. 17th place, and I've gone with Watford. Now, again, similarly to Stoke, they've kind of been a bit of a consistent low mid-table finisher in recent years. However, this time round, I think they'll have a slightly more troubled season. Appointing relatively young manager Paolo Pizzola, who'd been out of a job for 5 months and has never managed in English football, I think it will take a lot for them to be a big success. As well as that, they've signed a lot of young players, and like with Chelsea a few years ago, we've seen how long it takes for teams and manager, especially with a new manager, to gel together. I know it's not a completely new team, but they've signed a lot of young players who are relatively inexperienced. Caleb Wiley on loan from Chelsea. Obviously, the FM announcement of Nestori Irankada from Bayern is quite a good steal, to be honest, for Watford. As well as the triple signing from Udinese in Luca Kieramgard, Vivaldi Semedo and James Abankwa. They're all, like I said previously, they're all quite young, and to get that many young, high-rated players in with a new manager, with Watford's history of keeping managers, I wouldn't be surprised if Pizzola is one of the first managers to go, or if he's at least high in the odds, because inexperienced, a lot of new young players, Watford's history, I think it could be a recipe for disaster, but I think they'll be safe from the drop. They've also lost 2 relatively key centre-backs in Ryan Porteous and Francisco Cirolta, but they have replaced them, not like for like, but with younger, fresh players. In 16th place, and this might be a bit of a shock to most people, but like I said, I haven't looked at any predictions or odds, so I've no idea. I've gone with Middlesbrough. Under Michael Carrick, they were regressing, to be honest. In his first half season or so, they finished 4th, then his first full season 8th, then last season 10th. In the last half of last season, just taking those 23 games, they were 16th placed in the league. Even though he's gone, they've not replaced Emmanuel Latté-Laf. They've let go of Dijksteel and their captain, Johnny Howson. They've let 3 big players go and they've not replaced them. Rob Edwards is a decent manager. I think they've got the potential to finish higher. However, it's not looking good in pre-season. They've had 3 draws and a loss in their 4 pre-season games against Rangers, Mansfield, Hartlepool and Bradford. I mean, that isn't exactly screaming, we're going to finish in the top 5. Despite the additions of Callum Britton and Abdullah Kante, I can't see Middlesbrough having as prolific as they were having in the first few spells, or what the promise of Michael Carrick was. 15th place is QPR for me. They've lost a few regulars to their team, but highly rated manager Marty Cifuentes has gone to Leicester. The appointment of Julian Stefan looks quite good, to be honest. His time at Rennes, around 1.5 points per game in both stints. And obviously if you get that in the Championship, that's around about 60 or so points, which puts you quite high. However, Ligue 1 to the Championship isn't exactly an easy crossover. They've got rid of 3 key players in Lucas Anderson, Morgan Fox and Kenneth Pyle. But the addition of Kwame Poku looks very good on paper. He seems to be improving every single season, or at least he was at Portsmouth. He went from 2 goal contributions to 15 to 20, and then last season he reached 22 in only 31 games. Defensive signings like Mbenge from Reading and Keely Adamson look like strong additions. I think they'll be comfortable in a low mid-table finish. In 14th place for me is the Baggies. Now, since they got relegated, the Boing Boing Bangies nickname that was developed to them has kind of gone away. In fact, it kind of went away when they were in the Premier League the last time, because they stayed there for quite a while and have been in the Championship for quite a while. With a few seasons of mid-table mediocrity, I think it'll be another one. Just slightly below mid-table though. After having 4 managers last season, they've decided to appoint new, young manager, long-term assistant / caretaker, Spurs manager, Ryan Mason. As his first ever job in the head of a team, I think West Brom is kind of an okay bet. They're never really in danger of getting relegated, or at least from the Championship. I could see this being quite an easy settling period for him. However, he's still quite young. I know that he's been a manager, or at least he's been, a coach since that horrific head injury. They've lost John Swift and Sami Ajayi. They're 2 players who they are quite crucial for West Brom, but last season they haven't been as prolific as they were in previous seasons. The majority of the squad has stayed the same. Nat Phillips from Liverpool looks like quite a good replacement for Sami Ajayi. Norwegian striker Aun Sæland Hegebo looks like quite a good addition as well. However, inexperienced. However, they do have quite a relatively small squad, only 23 players. That could bring potential injury risks. In 13th place, I've gone with Hull. Now, after the high of Liam Rosenjul's 7th place finish 2 seasons ago, they were brought back down to reality, only finishing above the bottom 3 on goal difference. After letting go 7 regular starters and 16 players in total, bringing in 9 to replace them, and a new manager, they have had a massive summer of change. Manager Sergej Yakirovic looks like quite a good manager. He's not had below 1.55 points per game in just under 300 games of management. He's had good periods as Dinamo Zagreb. In fact, 2.2 points per game there. Not only have they made a good appointment managerial-wise, Ollie McBurnley, John Lundstrom, Akin Mayo, Sami Ajayi, and the loan signing from last season of Gustavo Puerta from Leverkusen has been made permanent. A promising season is looking very likely for the Tigers, on top of a very promising pre-season. 3 wins and a draw, only conceding once in those 4 games. It's looking like it could be a good season for the Tigers. However, they're still not going to be as good as some of the teams above them. In 12th place, bang on mid-table, I've gone with Millwall. They've kept Alex Neil. They've had a pretty comfortable window. They've lost 2 key players and they've signed quite a few good ones. George Honeyman and George Saville have gone out the door. Alfie Doherty has come in from Luton. He's a very, very good left wing back / left mid / left back, depending on where you want to play him. The Lions have been looking to add Premier League experience based off the players they've been signing. However, I don't think they'll have a massive drop off in comparison to their 8th place finish last season. I just think that the quality above them will just be too much. In 11th place, and I have no idea if this is a shock because they're too high, too low, or they might be exactly where people are predicting them, but I've gone with Birmingham City, the first of the Moneyball teams to come up from League One last season, and after 13 seasons in a row in the second tier, they were one and done last time. They bounced straight back up from League One with a record smashing 111 points. Wrexham finishing second with 92. They absolutely obliterated the record. Wolves' 103 in 2013-14 is now a thing of the past. Keeping Chris Davies is massive, as well as Kyogo Furuhashi from Celtic for 9 million looks like a very promising signing. Other high-profile names like Bright Isai Samuel, Tommy Doyle on loan, and Aaron Cashin, they look like good additions. They're certainly not being cautious about their business, and having only suffered the loss of one player, being Alfie May, who is quite a big loss, scored 17 goals and got 9 assists last season in 57 games. However, he's only proven himself as high as League One, and he's decided to stay there this time round. A strong foundation for the Blues to build on. A good season, however, I can't see them going back to back. In 10th, and I'm predicting another tough season for the Rovers, I've gone with Blackburn. Despite keeping Valérien Ismaël, who's been a bit of a mixed bag in English football, did very well with Barnsley a few years ago, but then his stint at West Brom after that wasn't quite as prolific, as well as Watford, but then again, most managers don't do well at Watford, or at least don't do well for long enough. They've lost quite a few important players. Rankin Costello, Tyree Sterling, Callum Britton, Andros Weimann, Danny Bath. They're all big holes that haven't been filled yet. Double centre-back signing of Sean McLaughlin and especially Lewis Miller look good, but they've still not signed an out-and-out right-back. Lewis Miller is mainly a centre-back, and having sold 2 in Callum Britton and Rankin Costello, it's not exactly good business. On top of that, they're still lacking a clinical out-and-out striker. In 9th place, and I've gone with Swansea. Since the appointment of Alan Sheehan, the Swans have been flying. They finished 11th last season after he picked them up in 17, and in his 13 games in charge, they were the 4th best team in the league. They've only lost one big player, Harry Darling, who is a massive player for them, to be honest. He's been a consistent performer for the Welsh team for years now. For a replacement, Cameron Burgess and Ricardo Santos, who will bring brute and Premier League experience kind of together. Ethan Galbraith at right back and Zaydan Sanusa look like decent signings. A strong season, I think, will be ahead for Swansea. However, I think Alan Sheehan won't be able to replicate exactly what he did last season, as there was definitely a new manager bounce. I think there'll be a challenger for the playoff places, but I think they'll miss out. 8th place and just edging out the battle for the bragging rights in Wales, I've gone with Ryan Reynolds' team. Wrexham are in 8th place for me, and they've got the biggest squad in the whole of the Championship. Having 35 players does mean they'll probably have a replacement for pretty much everyone. Quality-wise though, I'm not quite sure those replacements will be as good as the starting 11 can be. They've had 2 major losses in Paul Mullin and Stephen Fletcher, who are big losses dressing room wise and personality wise, but in terms of quality, I don't think they would have cut it in the Championship. Ryan Hardy from Plymouth, who's been a consistent scorer in his career, and Kiefer Moore, who's been a bit hit and miss, very miss in recent years. I think he'll be able to get his form back slightly at Wrexham. In addition to that, Danny Ward and Connor Cody from Leicester look like good signings. Josh Windass as well, Lewis O'Brien, and Australian left-back Liberato Kakache. They look like they could massively improve the starting 11. However, it's not just the starting 11. Starting 11-wise, they look like one of the strongest teams in the league. But, again, it's whether how quickly they can gel and the replacements for them. That's why I've not got them in a playoff place. And Phil Parkinson, can he keep the good form up in the higher leagues? Just missing out on the final playoff spot in 7th, I've gone with Sheffield United. A new manager in Ruben Sayers sees the end of Chris Wilder's second stint in charge of the Blades. However, I think it'll be another missed out promotion. The departures of Vinicius Junior, Ahmed Hodzic, Kiefer Moore and Ream Brewster, they could worry Blades fans. The loan signings of Raksaki last season, they've not exactly been replaced. Their squad will look vastly different to last season. A lot of big players have come out, as well as the loan signings who are no longer there. Tyler Binden and Louis Barry look like good additions, but if they want to finish as high as they did last season, I think they need to make some signings and quickly. 6th place and in the first promotion spot, I've gone with Norwich. Similarly to Hull this summer, they've had a massive revamp. Not only have they got rid of their manager, they brought in Ryan Manning, who I'm predicting to finish back-to-back 6th places, as well as 16 players joining. They've now got the third biggest squad in the league. Despite Angus Gunn and Borja Sainz leaving last season, they've done quite well to replace them. Papa Diallo, who got 12 goals and assists in 33 games for Reims last season, looks like a good addition. Sporting goalkeeper Vladan Kovacevic looks like a decent signing as well. On top of other class signings, Harry Darling will be good, Jeff Schlupp from Palace, but obviously the main attraction will be Danish bagsman Matthias Kvitsgaarden. He's had 42 goals and 15 assists in his last 3 seasons for Brøndby. All very exciting and promising additions to the squad. 5th place for me is Derby County. Now, again, I don't know if this is me sticking my neck on the line, but I am saying that John Eustace is going to have 3 seasons in a row where he gets a team into the playoffs. I know that he didn't see it through with either Blackburn or Birmingham, but he'll stay at Derby. After a good end to last season, being 9th place in the league with only John Eustace's games taken into account, I'm backing them to continue on that upward trajectory, especially after a few of the signings they've made. Dion Sanderson and David Ozo on loan again look like quite good signings. Patrick Agyemang, who's been a decent goalscorer in the MLS, on top of Blackburn duo in Danny Barth and Andreas Weimann. Colton Morris will also bring experience into the side, and I think that will lead the Rams to have quite a similar season to what they were having pre-COVID times, kind of finishing in and around the playoff places. In 4th place, and I've gone with Southampton. Now again, I don't know if this is a wild prediction or not. It's no surprise that I've got the team who almost beat Derby's lowest point tally in the Premier League last season as the lowest finisher of the relegated 3. Their squad has been absolutely decimated. Key players like Aaron Ramsdale, former captain Jan Bednarek, promising youngster Samo Omeaweyu, Kamaldeen Sulemana, Paul Onuachu, Juan Larios and Carl Walker-Peters. In the Championship, that is a title-winning side. They've got Adam Armstrong back from his loan spell at West Brom. Despite only having the Championship scorer tag that Alexander Mitrovic had a few seasons ago, he's not been that good recently. It is quite weird that they've kept a few of the players that at least I was sure would leave when they got relegated. Taylor Howard-Bellis, Joe Aribo and Mateus Fernandes have all stayed, and if they do end up seeing out the season, they are definitely above Championship quality. Tyler Dibling, although at the moment he's still there, despite the $100 million price tag that Southampton put on him, Everton seem to be like they're moving towards a signing for him. But it's not only the signings and the sales that have changed for Southampton. They've brought in FM icon Will Still. He's finally gotten his UEFA Pro licence, which means he can manage in England without getting fined. But I think overall, the Saints have still got good squad depth and a starting 11 to finish in the playoff spots, but I can't see them doing any more than that. 3rd place, just missing out on the automatic spots, I've gone with Ipswich, which means if it does finish how I've said it, it will be an East Anglian derby in the playoff semi-final. Despite finishing 19th last season, the general conception was that they were actually the best out of the 3 relegated sides. That was the case for 90% of the season, to be honest, but obviously Leicester, towards the end, picked up a few results. While Luongo, Tuanzebe, Cameron Burgess and captain Sam Morsey have all left, their squad is still relatively the same. Liam Delap is obviously the main exit, but he was never really going to stay. They've brought in the experienced Ashley Young, who will be quite a good leader for them, on top of 2 highly rated players in Azor Metasiwa from Rennes and centre-back Cedric Keepray, who's come back to the Championship. Strong additions to the squad, but yet to sign a real replacement for Liam Delap. I think there'll be a slight knockback from being relegated last season, but I think keeping Kieran McKenna and the majority of their squad together will lead them to have a very good season. 2nd place, and I've gone with Coventry. Am I falling for the hype? Possibly. Despite Lewis Binks, Coventry's sales have actually been fairly comfortable. No player, apart from Binks, played over 10 games for them last season. Not many incomings either. Only bringing in Carl Rushworth and Logan Bryan, Kane Kessler-Hayden and left-back Miguel Baru. They'll provide competition or potentially a starting spot. Taking into account the time that Frank Lampard was at Coventry last season, only Leeds, Burnley and Sheffield United were better than them. 2 of them aren't in the league anymore, and I think Sheffield United have got worse. Consistency is very key, and Lampard seems to be following that. They've kept everyone that they've needed to be able to get into a promotion spot, and I think they will. I think they'll get back into the Premier League. However, I do not think that they will get top spot. And finishing on top of the tree is Leicester. For me, this is pretty simple, to be honest. Leicester's decision to replace Steve Cooper with Van Nistelrooy might be one of the worst in their history. Steve Cooper was getting them to score pretty much every single game, and he had them in 16th place. Van Nistelrooy's Leicester didn't score a goal for many games. The same can't be said for this appointment though, because in that period that Lampard was at Coventry, it was Marty Cifuentes' QPR side that was second best to them. The only departures so far have been Connor Cody and backup goalkeepers Ward and Iverson. They've still got their best players, Steffi Mavididi, Abdul Fatawu, Jordan Ayew, Manta Manson, James Justin, Bilal Kanous. The list can go on, and they're all Prem quality. Similarly to the last season that they were here with Maresca, I think that any manager with a working brain should be able to get them promoted. I can't see Leicester not getting automatic promotion. Winning the league, I can almost see like 95%. But again, I don't know if that's a common opinion or not. I've looked at their squad, realised that they've basically got the exact same squad. They've got probably a better manager, and the signings that they've made, Asmir Begovic as a backup goalkeeper, that's it. They've still got basically their whole squad. I can't see Leicester not winning the league here. This part of the video might seem a tiny bit disconnected from the rest of it. I'm filming it slightly later. People always ask, is my job safe from AI and stuff like that. I'm going to test whether this job is safe from AI. I asked ChatGPT to predict the 25-26 championship season, and this is the table that it is decided on. A few interesting positions, to say the least. I don't know, I haven't seen it yet. Let me know what you think, and then at the end of the season, I'm going to obviously do that point system I said about, and I'm going to apply it to my predictions and AI to see if AI will take my job or not. But without that, back into the video. And with that, that signals the end of my championship predictions for this season, as well as my first ever video. Let me know what you thought of my predictions. Were they pretty good? Were they bad? Or were they a mixed bag? Let me know in the comments what your predictions are for the season, and let me know what other kind of videos you want to see. In about a week's time, I'm going to be releasing my Premier League predictions on top of my Game Week 1 predictions, which I will be doing game weekly throughout the season, on top of my FPL team for Game Week 1, in case you're interested. But if you did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe. I'm on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. I'm on the big three. Follow all of them if you like. I'll leave a link to them in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.